Yeah, so welcome to the webinar. This is the webinar series devoted to the science and today, definitely the art of learning, unlearning, and relearning. And I would like to introduce myself and a little bit introduce this series. So maybe you've heard Alvin Toffler. He was a very renowned futurist, American futurist, and he wrote a book, Future's Shock, where he talked about possible scenarios, probable futures, and he cited not lesser renowned psychologist, but he has a very specific name. So that's really a shame, but I can never remember his name, but you can Google that and double check, where he said that the illiterate of the future are not going to be those who cannot read or write. These are going to be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And I've been, firstly, will introduce myself for those who do not know me, but I think none of you know me because I'm always in flux. I'm always changing. I'm adding new
You're evolving. You're
domains,
evolving.
evolving Mankey, yes, and new domains to my professional role, so to speak. Yeah, but in general, I'm an educator and a neuroscientist. So I combine the two and I apply neuroscience to education. Also a qualified teacher in the UK, more than 20 years of experience, but I'm not that old. I just started very early at the age of 14. And we are going to talk about it as well, the importance of, as I call it, the skin in the game. Having this experience in the field is very important. And I've studied my research in metacognition. So metacognition, meta memory.
Alexandra.
Hello. Yeah? Can you guys hear me? Oh, you're losing.
Get twice then.
Sorry, guys. This is Italy. This is Venice. And
Alexandra, we thought you met somebody interesting in Venice and you went away on a
no.
nice boat ride.
No, Vanki, no. It's all business. Nothing personal.
Okay. I'll believe you. I'll believe you.
Yeah, we're talking about not an Italian man, please. No.
Hey, judging by the way you dance, any man will want to be a part of your life. I'm sure you'll meet many interesting men.
Thank you. Yeah, that's actually the opposite. That's not the topic of the seminar. But I'm very all in science, Wenke. It's all about science here. Unfortunately, hopefully one day. But I'm very serious. When you're too serious, is for a woman is very, very difficult. So
We'll talk another day. That's a subject for
we'll
another
talk
day.
about it later. Yes.
Exactly.
So I stopped on metacognition. Yes. So that my research, my thesis is on metacognition, and metacognition, meta-memory by John Flavel, American psychologist, is all about applied cognition. Yeah, so basically this is the how of things. Yeah, because cognition is very deep in our brains. That's actually what everybody used to think, but it's not just there, here, yeah. It's actually embodied, it's in the body as well. But if we think about it as it is in the brain, it's very difficult to translate neuroscience to any field if we just talk about cognition. Yeah, we can have transcranial brain stimulations, but again, you need to have the prescription, you need to have the psychiatrist overseeing it. That's a lot of money, it's very expensive. And also we don't have enough longitudinal studies to prove that this is not harmful for children. But some researchers are doing that, for instance, in the UK. But I think that the most cost-effective way, and actually the best way, because you are doing it yourself, you are the actor, yeah, you are the main hero, the subject, not an object that you are sitting, and transcranial stimulation is done to you, yeah, you have to do it yourself. This is what Tal always says, yeah, it's all about the process here. And the best way to be involved in this process, am I recording? Yes. Yes, I'm recording. Yeah, double check because I was logging in and out. Yeah, so when you are in this process, the best way to apply neuroscience to education is metacognition. And my research on metacognition, which is the science of learning, and also, you know, in the context of Leonardo da Vinci, who you probably know was a polymath, and the person who could do many things. Yeah, he had various knowledge of different fields, and he applied them to one skill. He was good, actually, extremely good at one skill that underpinned all his knowledge, all his, you know, all his domains that he had covered, and that was drawing. So he could draw science, he could draw art. I'm still admitting people, so please forgive me. Pardon me, I will be a bit slow and stopping. Yeah, so he could draw science, he could draw art. He was a well-developed, well-rounded person, well-rounded professional, but it underpinned one skill that he was really good at, and that was drawing. And in the context of learning, unlearning, and relearning, it's all about learning. It is still about the science of learning. But learning, or any type of engagement, now please attention, because if you understand these, it's going to help you later on. So any type of engagement is based on cognition, affection, conation. What Tal is always saying, the ABC of psychology. But conation, I like the word conation instead of behavior, because conation is about volition, about will, yeah, about the future. So it's not just behavior. Behavior by itself can be any, yeah, it can be just automatic, yeah, reflexive behavior. But if we talk about conation, it's your will. So you are striving for it, yeah, and you take action. And any type of engagement is based on affection, cognition, conation. And the same when it comes to learning. Learning is based on cognition, which is learning. And this is where you have to work, where you have to do things, where you have to self-regulate, yeah, as we call it, self-regulated learning, where you have to do metacognition, where you have to apply, yeah, certain things. You have to know the how. And unlearning, which taps into affection, emotions. Learning doesn't just happen in the head, it also happens in the heart, right? And relearning, which is conation. It taps into conation, will, and volition. And we will talk about it today. But in the context of myself, my journey, and what I have been doing, I have been studying metacognition, but I found advanced metacognition, what I call it, and Da Vinci and other polymaths. Yeah, I'm repeating. So polymath is the person who is good in many fields, but with the depth with the breadth of knowledge and integration. So this is a person who can not just know things well, yeah, proficiently, not just have the breadth, yeah, different, many various domains, but also is capable of integrating them in a way that we have a nice product, yeah, byproduct of it. And also polymathy, it can be considered as a life project. Some people undertake this project because they are neurodivergent, like myself. I have ADHD, and for me, learning is just how I function, gaining new information, moving on. It helps me to sort of stay focused. So there is no other way for myself. So for me is something that I'm doing by default, yeah, so to speak. I have not chosen that, but if you decide to choose this way, polymathic way, I can say that it's difficult because it requires a lot of psychic energy. Yeah, psychic energy. And getting back to Vanky's comment about a nice man in Italy, no, Vanky, all the energy goes to polymacy, unfortunately, but we'll sort it out. So I'm back to you.
You're back. You just again, whenever you say something about a man, it goes away.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Let me move on. And I would like to introduce my lab, by the way. So, learning and relearning lab. So, we study the science of learning, the science of unlearning, and the science of relearning. And it's very, very deep first-hand research and also translation. We translate the findings into practical applications. For example, we've just launched the program for schools in learning, unlearning, and relearning. It's an advanced metacognitive program, and it's actually one of a kind, because whatever is missing, I know all the programs, and I've checked what was really missing and required. And it's also unique because it's the only program in learning, unlearning, and relearning together. Because polymathy is very important these days, especially in the new era of AI. And a famous, very renowned AI researcher, he has a Greek, not at the back of my head. I just wanted to say it very quickly to you. Santakis or something is his surname. He got a Nobel Prize last year. He's from my university, from UCL. What was his name? Sorry, guys. If I remember, I will text to you. I can't know. So he was saying that, his words, quote unquote. We have been talking about it for ages, but when people heard him saying that, everyone was like, no, we have to look into learning, because he said that the science of learning is the most important skill. How to learn is going to be the most important skill in the new era of AI. And this is where we have to listen to Leonardo da Vinci and his pieces of advice. And that's what we are going to talk about today, and hopefully have a discussion. I'm planning to send you to breakout rooms. So please bear in mind to think about what you've learned today, what you have unlearned, and what you have relearned. But after I explain what it actually means in practice, okay? So, and this is our lab. So we are young professionals, young researchers and practitioners as well. If you're interested, you can just have a look. And we are launching the digital products. They will be ready very soon. The school program is already done. So lots of exciting news this year. And so first of all, Leonardo da Vinci. I'm in Venice, as I said, and I've, of course, wanted to see his Vitruvian Man. Yeah, this is Vitruvian Man. But it's not on display all the time. And I don't think it will be on display this year. I checked online, but I couldn't find it. But, Leonardo da Vinci was special. Yeah, he was unique, not just because he was a polymath, he was a a good painter. Yeah, we can admire his works, but because he was living the life to the full. And without getting deep into philosophy, yeah, we all talk about the purpose of life, the meaning, but I can only share with you my opinion that there is no meaning. The meaning is to learn and change. And here, Da Vinci was absolutely fascinated by motion. So if you look at his codices, yeah, he had Codex Leicester, Codex Leicester, which is in Bill Gates' collection, Codex Arundel, which is in British Library. And I'm actually going to meet Giuliana Baroni, Oxford University researcher, next week in Oxford, at Oxford University. She's the #1 expert on Da Vinci, and we are going to have some things together. And it's very interesting that he was fascinated by motion. So he studied the water, he studied the vortices, yeah, the vortex, the flow. And as a metaphor, all rivers flow into the sea. So purpose of life is changing, is motion, is moving on, yeah, is trying new things. Yeah, the things that are eudaimonic, yeah, that are virtues, that don't harm other people. Obviously, we're not talking about this, but it's all about movement. And his approach to science and to art, because he was the person combining art and science, was all embracing theory of knowledge. So all embracing theory was even reflected on in his diaries, yeah, all his notes. So he didn't have like a folder which was stick together. It was always loose because he was always adding some new pages to it. So he was looking for different pieces of the puzzle, because the puzzle is never complete. And it brings us to neuroscience. We are not talking about him in the context of his work. He had some sketches about the brain, but it was very minor, and it was not even included in the codices, Arundel and Leicester. But it brings us to neuroscience, that our brain is really a pattern-seeking machine. And what was Da Vinci doing? And he set an example. Don't tie the folder, yeah? Don't write the book. Always leave space to add some new pages, because life is always in flux. And sometimes you don't see, because we will talk about it from the neuroscience perspective purely, and just before in simple words, sometimes we don't see the way out because there is a movement that we have to make, yeah, and the next step that we have to take to see it. So if you are standing, yeah, you are in rest, there is very little possibility that you will find the answers. That's what Da Vinci thought. And this brings us to a very important topic in neuroscience. It is called brain divide. And it is really a divide because it divided the scholars, it divided the neuroscientists. There is a group who say, they support this pop bubble, psychological pop psychology, yeah, that there is no divide, we use all of our brain. But well, that's obvious. It doesn't need to it doesn't need a proof because we use all of our brain and everything is interconnected. But important is attention. And as I said, engagement, as I told you at the beginning, yeah, affection, cognition, connection. Remember this. All engagements, all learning is based on that. And a right hemisphere and left hemisphere, they are divided because they are the attention you pay is different depending on the hemisphere. So the right hemisphere attention pain is different from the left hemisphere attention pain, and they are also physiologically different. Yeah, one is a little bit further up front, another one is a little bit longer. Yeah, the back of the brain. So right hemisphere, Da Vinci was a pure right hemisphere man. So I think you've heard about right left hemisphere differences, yeah? And I can just tell you, forget it, because I'm sure you're gonna say that left is more logical, yeah, more critical, and right is more creative, is more like, all flying in the sky. But no, actually, right hemisphere is more critical. So right hemisphere is the bigger lens. It's about the size of the lens. And left hemisphere is very narrow. So left hemisphere can operate in the context that the right hemisphere sets. So just remember this. The right hemisphere sets the context. Imagine you take something out of the context. Will it have meaning? Of course not. It will, but it's going to be different, right? So context is something that is extremely important in everything and in anything we do. And Da Vinci's notebook is this metaphor of context. And he was adding new pages over and over again because the context was changing. He was moving. He was in flux. He was in motion, yeah? The context is changing. And now we're living in a new era of AI. Done. The 2025 is different, and we are not going to get back to the times when everything was, I don't want to be negative, just say different, when everything was very different. Mm-hmm. So, but we have to survive, right? We have to move on. Life goes on. We are grateful that today we woke up and we are alive. Yeah. So for these to survive, just to survive, we have to move. We have to add new pages to our notebooks and details on the whole picture perception and what time is it, guys? Yeah, it's been just 30 minutes, sorry, because I'm having my class at Harvard after this session and I can't be late. So I need to keep track of time. So
Like 4.
yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah,
It's almost 4 your time.
Yeah, so my class is starting at 5:30. Yeah, so we still have time. We will make it, don't worry. And you will have discussion as well. So the whole picture perception, this is right hemisphere. So you can take a picture of this slide, or if you wish, you can watch a recording. What is written here is very important, So the right hemisphere senses the world as it is interconnected. It's contextual, unlike the left hemisphere, which focuses on their contextualized parts of the world. So you need left hemisphere. Left hemisphere is required when the right already told you what to do. If you don't know what to do, for instance, I have chosen a neuroscience path. For me to choose this path, because I'm an educator, I come from education, I've been in the classroom, I've been teaching at universities, I've been an academic manager, all sorts of roles. I've been even a speaking examiner, an interlocutor, all sorts of roles in education. I've tried materials developer, but my parents are doctors. And I've always felt, that I have to get into biology one day. There was a moment when I decided to take this path, and that was my right hemisphere decision. But now I can use left hemisphere when I, for instance, have to do something, yeah, particular work. I need to focus, and I'm using my left hemisphere to analyze it. But I've chosen. I have the context. Yeah, I'm a neuroscientist. I'm doing neuroscience. Then I'm now working on the rebuilding of Ukraine, Harvard project, Harvard University School of Public Health, and there as well. Before going into neuroaesthetics, how environment affects our learning and well-being, I was also using my right hemisphere to decide, to make this decision. But as soon as I made these decisions, I got my context, I'm using my left hemisphere. And we use them together. But attention is the key. What you pay your attention to. If you use your left hemisphere to choose your husband, yeah, your partner, or to choose your way, yeah, your profession, whatsoever, you will fail. Because the left hemisphere cannot help you. The left hemisphere is this your Freudian ego. Yeah, I want this, I want just pointing the fingers. It has very, very narrow thinking because it sees only where you've moved now, but you're moving again, yeah, more and more. And your right hemisphere is really helpful for big decisions, yeah, because it gives you this bigger picture, this context, and something clicks. And there are not many, there are some things that we can explain by neuroscience, many things now, but there are some things that we still can't explain. And it doesn't mean that we have to, cross them out. But one thing is for sure in neuroscience, that we have right and left divide. And this divide it will divide your life if you don't understand where it comes from. So please reread this slide if you have time. And in the context of learning, unlearning, and relearning, our research is focused on the 3 intelligences of the future. In Neurocom 25 lab, we call it emotional intelligence for learning, and I will explain why. Spiritual intelligence for unlearning, which spiritual is not secular. Yeah, it has nothing to do with religion, obviously. It's a good point to make. And aesthetic intelligence for relearning. And these 3 intelligences are going to fight AI. Yeah, because your IQ will not stand, yeah, in comparison to AI. How clever no matter how clever you are, yeah, AI is much cleverer than all of us together because it has all the data, yeah, and a language processing to do anything, yeah. But AI has yes or no answers. AI doesn't have the maybe answer. I don't want to get deeper here because this is the next webinar, the last webinar of this month. But this maybe is very human. It's emotional, spiritual, and aesthetic intelligences. Why emotional intelligence is not holding yourself when your boss is yelling at you, yeah, because some people have this understanding. Because I had this understanding a long time ago, yeah, like you have to be emotionally intelligent, like don't lose your temper if things go wrong. No, emotional intelligence is self-regulation, yeah, also when things go wrong, yeah, but emotional intelligence is more about meta motivation, when you can motivate yourself, because learning, cognitive process of learning is hard. Yeah, learning is the hardest of this trilogy, because you have to bring yourself to the water. Yeah, you have to make yourself drink. Yeah, but of course there are other processes, affective and cognitive, that support you in your journey, that help you to do that. But learning is the process where you need to motivate yourself. Just watching. Got some messages here. Okay. Anyways, so spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence is the science of unlearning. In short, you unlearn what goes against your happiness. Yeah, here we have the happiness studies as a subject in unlearning. What goes against your eudaimonic, which is your virtues, your purpose, your goal, yeah, what you think is true for you and is true in general, because we have bigger truth and smaller truth. Yeah, the small truth in philosophy is when I tell you today I had tiramisu. Yeah, this is true, but it's not going to change your life. Yeah, no one cares what I had today. Yeah, but the bigger truth is these important things. Yeah, the stories that we tell ourselves. Yeah, the stories in our heads. And this is spiritual intelligence, being able to operate in these stories. Being able to operate, I think, is the best word, because you might have them, but being able to really act accordingly, yeah, it can be challenging. It should be your operation system according to your hedonic happiness, your emotional happiness, and your eudaimonic happiness. And this is where unlearning happens. Yeah, unlearning means you go deeper. Unlearning, it doesn't mean that you forget. Yeah, you go deeper into the subject, that it changes the whole perspective. As Da Vinci, as soon as he went deeper, he had to add new pages to his notebook. And aesthetic intelligence. This is my favorite, because these days I'm involved in this project, and this is where I completely moved my research. I have been doing the science of learning, neuroscience research, happiness studies. Last year, the whole year was for me about my certificate and what I've learned there. And now it's a new page, and I'm adding these pages to my notebook, which is neuroaesthetics. How environment, art, poetry influences learning and well-being as well. So this is sort of a multidisciplinary field which combines learning, well-being, any kind of engagement. Yeah, learning is engagement. So if you think about learning, if you talk about learning, it's always cognition, affection, connection. Yeah, any kind of engagement. So neuroaesthetics is an interesting new field. And aesthetic intelligence, here, attention, is your ability to understand the implicit. And this is the right hemisphere. Implicit. Poetry. Whatever is said in a poem can never be, it doesn't have to be expressed explicitly. Explicitly is your left hemisphere, because left hemisphere is responsible for the language. People who had it amputated, they lost the speech. Yeah. So language is so primitive. We humans, we evolved and we've learned to use words to express ourselves, but language is so primitive in comparison to implicit, what we can sort of have a grasp of, yeah, what we can feel, and we know this is not just a light feeling, yeah, not so serious. And this is aesthetic experience, intelligence. So aesthetic intelligence is you don't have a life, you are life. And life is a metaphor. However you understand this, just understand. I'm not going to explicitly spoil this phrase. Life is a metaphor. You don't have a life, you are life. So aesthetic intelligence, your ability to understand what is happening around you. And this is also learning, and it's been proven neuroscientifically, because we have the default mode network in the brain. So this is the state of calm, yeah, not just calm, but when you are reflecting. And in this state, your schemata, your knowledge that you previously hold, is transforming into other variations of knowledge. And this is what Da Vinci have been doing all the time. And we call it, in my lab, relearning. Relearning is not learning again. Relearning is transforming information that you were primed for into new insights. You can call it aha moments, but aha moments can be biased, actually, because it can be just our heuristics that we have been using. But it's better to say something that it was there is transformed, and you look at it from a different angle. And that's why many companies around the world, yeah, big companies, they send their personnel to work in different departments. Yeah, they do it on purpose because they want people to have a different angle, yeah, to transform their schemata, yeah, their cognitive gobbets into mathemata, yeah, which is experienced knowledge, new, different knowledge. So these are the three intelligences that we have. And we have a wonderful CPD, UK CPD accredited masterclass, which is called The Three Intelligences of the Future, where we go in detail, we cover in detail emotional, spiritual, and aesthetic, and how they can save your life. So we don't just talk about emotional, guys, it was yesterday. We all know about emotional intelligence, and we heard so many, I think, lectures, and there is plenty of information, yeah, about emotion. And sometimes what people call emotional is actually spiritual, yeah, or aesthetic. So sometimes people just mix them up because they don't know that they exist. So, and pre-context. I like this word context, because context decides everything. Da Vinci was the master of context. So we've got the engagement, environments, yeah, environments, your novelty, traveling. Today I'm traveling, I'm really, something is shifting, you know, because why is shifting when you travel? Yeah, you never be the same person again, somebody great said. Because you get the new, your schemata is transformed, yeah, into new information, into different understandings. You make different connections. And visual properties, yeah, formal, perceptual, yeah, conceptual representations, yeah. So perceptual, we see, for example, the color, it's perceptual, yeah, it can be either black or white, but conceptual is the symbolism. Yeah, so these visual properties, your left hemisphere sees the black. Okay, this is black. This is your left hemisphere. This is green, yeah? But symbolism is your right hemisphere. And right hemisphere is the master, whereas left hemisphere is the emissary. So don't let your emissary rule. That's according to Da Vinci. And just very briefly, this is from aesthetic, the field of neuroaesthetics. I don't want to focus on this one, the aesthetic triad. So we've got the sensory, motor, yeah, emotional, valuation, and meaning and knowledge. So we have mapped out, the neuroscientists have mapped out. Actually, that was done by the scientists of Penn, Pennsylvania, the neuroaesthetics lab, the parts of the brain and what they are responsible for. And this is learning. Learning is not just what we usually hear about it. And also have the Vienna integrated model, bottom up, yeah, and top down. So top down, again, this is your right hemisphere, your experience, your knowledge basis, yeah, what you already have, and learning. Now we are going to look into Da Vinci's lessons. by learning, unlearning, and relearning. So Da Vinci believed in the motion of mind. The motion of mind is cognition, as I said, yeah? Engagement, cognition, affection, connection. He believed in mastery. Mastery is the right hemisphere. Mastery is breadth, depth, and integration of knowledge. Many talents, underpinned by one supreme skill. You can have many talents. This is not a shame on your LinkedIn when you have a million courses that you've taken, yeah, million degrees. This is not a shame, but it should be underpinned by one supreme skill. What are you a master at? What is your mastery? Da Vinci was a painter with the capital P, yeah, a artist. Disruption of balance, as I said at the very beginning, yeah. So for him, the basic condition for motion to occur was the disruption of balance. This is Aristotelian as well. Yeah. So rest needs to be disrupted. If you want to learn, your rest needs to be disrupted. Even your default mode network, it gets when you are resting, yeah, it gets disrupted by your environment and relearning happens. You're always learning, always, even passively, even informally. Yeah. Also, here we have the self-regulated learning, metacognition, meta-motivation. Yeah, meta-motivation, when you motivate yourself, this is the attention regulation, this is growth mindset and delayed gratification. And Da Vinci thought that learning never exhausts the mind because he believed in motion. Yeah, the motion of the mind. And it was actually, he not just practiced that, yeah, in his scientific work, he also depicted that in his art. If you look at the Last Supper, yeah, you see it here on the slide. So if you look closely, this picture is not the perfect example because it's blurred, but if you look closely, you will see the faces of the disciples. Yeah, you will see the motion of their minds. What are they controlling? Yeah, what are they doing? What are they? You can even guess what they're thinking about. Demis Hassabis, yeah, thank you, Mark. Yeah, Demis Hassabis said that the science of learning will be something that you have to pay attention. Yeah, guys, if you have to leave, please leave. The recording will be available. If you want a certificate, please leave your emails in the chat box. Sorry, I've forgotten to mention that. Unlearning. Da Vinci believed in the motion of the soul. This is a faction. The motion of the soul between mental and emotional states. It's been proved you can't learn if you are not interested, if you're not fascinated, yeah, because your attention span will be very low. Yeah, you will be disrupted and it's not going to stick. Yeah, there will be no dopamine release. So he also believed in the passion of the spirit, how deep it was set, yeah, so many years ago. The passion of the spirit, going deeper, going so deep into this that you get lost. Yeah, and you can see it even in his art, not just in his codices. Yeah, look at the lady with an arm in her. Yeah, the Last Supper as well. Her expression, the motion of the soul, and relearning, the motion of the body. I brought my body to Venice. I'm relearning. It's a different atmosphere. Yeah, this is connection. This is your behavior. Cognition is embodied. Yeah? Cognition is embodied. Yeah, here again we've got the default mode network. Yeah, so while you are in this state, yeah, it's accompanied by internal and external focus. So you're not just internally focusing, you're reflecting, but you're also externally focusing. And all this comes together layer by layer, yeah, and you're relearning. And also we have Vitruvian Man. Yeah, this is an example of the body in motion. You can see it in the art, and this is what is really happening. Yeah, it's really happening to us. We are relearning. We are learning with our bodies. People who have been on the job, you can see them straight away. You cannot fool anybody, right? Because these people, they even have this, as I call, the skin in the game. Yeah, they know how to do. The doctors, they don't need to use ChatGPT, right, to treat the patients. The doctors who have been on the job all their lives, and this is the motion of the body. Yeah, this is the Vitruvian man that Da Vinci depicted. Yeah, he said that's his words. Body's functions, such as breathing, as micro-analogies for larger universal processes like the ebb and flow of oceans. So everything is interconnected. You might see something which will bring you to what you have been looking for. This is your body in motion, and this is relearning. And as I said, he had these folded sheets, yeah, for brainstorming his ideas, his unique blend of art and science fueled his thinking. And now we've got some time. I'm going to send you into breakout rooms just for a couple of minutes for you to discuss. What have you learned during this session? What have you unlearned? What have you relearned? Oh, not there. Breakout rooms very quickly. How many people? We don't have many people.
Very nice, and you.
Okay, I just assigned them automatically. So guys, you have to click on joining. Oops. Guys, Naveen, Anand, okay. Move to room.
Seeking machine. Oh, hi. Okay. Our brain is a pattern seeking machine. So what I learned is what we focus on, our energy goes. What do you think?
Totally, yes. To
Right?
say a power seeking machine.
No, it's a pattern. Patrón, pattern. Pattern seeking machine. So what we focus on, our energy goes. Our energy follows, right? And I like to the three intelligences for learning, unlearning and relearning, and the three was emotional, spiritual, and aesthetic. And the last one is the ability to see the implicit in the atmosphere. That was very interesting for me. And so you don't have a life, you are alive. I love that sentence.
Yes, that blowed me.
Yeah.
That blowed me. I wrote I am alive. It's like, okay. Actually, I wrote I am life without the A.
Uh-huh.
past, and the left then following up with the actions and the doing
Yeah.
with context which has been defined by the right. I also found myself wondering on that. What are the Alexandra has joined us, so maybe she has some answer on this. Whether there's any link or connection with left and right-handedness here, and
Yes.
particularly the old adage or the old thing that used to go around about the average IQ of left-handed people being higher than the average IQ of right-handed. Um, because if left-handedness is coming as dominant from the right, does that mean that
Yeah.
left-handed people have a right brain which is better at setting out a context, stronger at setting out a context, but may lack or struggle in the left brain follow-up to turn that into useful stuff?
And Alexandra, what if you're ambidextrous like I am? I'm naturally left-handed,
Mhm.
and I'm more creative than analytical, but I'm both. And how does that play in?
I think,
Please.
again, this is very individual. I need to scan your brain and see how it goes there.
Oh,
No, seriously,
Ooh.
this is generalization. We can say that there is a correlation somehow, but it doesn't mean that, if it's A, it will bring you to B, So I don't think, I don't have the answer, like this is true or this is false. I think it depends from person to person. So it might be that the person who is left-handed is more creative, but it can be, the other different circumstances that plays a role, the genetics, the environment. So it's just, we can't say that left-handed people are more creative than right-handed people. It's not true.
I'm sticking with that theory though.
No, it's good. Maybe in your case, it's true. That's what I say. We have to scan your brain and see the white matter, the gray matter. Then we can say something. But like it's difficult to say like that. You know better. You know if you're creative or not.
But some
Well,
of those
this is
aspects.
brilliant for me because this is going to make my I'm going to use some of your stuff tomorrow in the talk that I'm doing. So I'm sitting down on a panel with two tech startup people. One's AI and one's augmented reality (AR), and I'm supposed to kind of talk to them as the modern elder who's got the world experience and bringing in the emotional intelligence. But I want to add, because I asked him, can I add a spiritual element? And he goes,
Yeah,
sure. He goes,
quote the sources.
yeah.
Yeah, sure. Of course, that's for sharing. What is the point? Because I've been doing so much stuff, but I was so busy with doing that stuff that I didn't have time, and it took me so long to, create the course, and we are just launching it now. It took me 2 years. But I've realized that there is no point of it if I'm not sharing that. So what is the point? I mean, research is important, but I delved so deep that now I just want to go, the breadth and integration, not just going deeper. Yeah, so of course, yeah, you can share. Yeah.
So you
You're
spend
right.
all that time in your right brain, and now it's time to bring the left online and
Yes,
start
exactly.
turning
Yes, exactly,
it
Mark.
into
Yeah, but
doable stuff.
yes, I was
But
focusing on my left
the
brain.
other aspect in which this seems really, but the other part that seems really important in all this to me, and I'm sure would resonate particularly for Venki in the work that he does, is that especially as a leader, where you are in the context of this, plays a very big part in what kind of team members you need around you. What other people you need around. I mean, if you're really, really on that way out on that creative side, you'd better have what was his name? Belbin, Meredith Belbin, Cambridge University, a guy who did a lot of work on teams and team roles. And one of the team roles he defined it, the person who dots the I's and crosses the T's, the one who actually makes sure that those wonderful ideas, because you have a real risk, and I'm sure it must happen in some of these like high-tech companies that are moving really fast, that people sit in a meeting and have the most amazing ideas bouncing off each other. And there's all this energy in the room and it's all flying around all over the place. And then they walk in the room and nothing happens with it.
Yeah, so it should be left
Because
here.
none of it actually gets turned into concrete actions and concrete steps forward to actually, do some A/B analysis or whatever to actually figure out, okay, there were great ideas while we sat theoretically discussing it, but does it work? And how does it work? And what does it need more to work effectively?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. That's why we need to use both hemispheres. So as soon as you found the idea, you have to, you have to drill, baby, drill. You have to work on
I love that.
and exactly.
Yeah, I acknowledge that the individual needs to use both, but if you've got a strength on one side rather than the other, to try to sort of equalize them seems to me to in some way deny your true identity. And within a team, teams are stronger because you can say, look, this is how I am, but I can be complemented by the presence of others in the team who make up for maybe what elements of shortfall. I've got a lot of mosquitoes around at the moment. I keep
Yeah,
I'm
and we
not
are
doing
now
Harry Potter
having a
already.
lecture at Harvard in polymathic leadership, exactly how to manage these polymathic teams, because we are expecting more and more polymath. And this is a very difficult. What you've actually raised is a real problem, and especially these people, they all have, I'm not gonna say bad character because my character is good, but I'm not an easy person to work with. It's not about like being a bad person, but these people are difficult, very difficult to work with. Absolutely. So that's
But it could also be. But I think it could also be the case that where you put people who are sort of dominant left or dominant right in the room together, they have to understand that they are going to wind each other up. They are going to annoy each other at times because they're going to appear to each other to have different priorities,
but the
different
point is
a
to
different
make
sense of
but the point is
what's
to make
important.
everybody dominant right, and everybody dominant left. So at first you find the way and then you execute. You have to do both.
Yeah.
So they all complement each other. That's why we have two hemispheres for a reason. Like we can't choose, which hemisphere to have at birth. So I think we have to have both. And that's the whole thing about it. You have to be the person who executes, because if it's just a brilliant idea, there is no point. So people are having fun here. So I'm getting back, guys, bringing you back to the rooms, to the main room.
Yeah.
Sure. But the other thing there that strikes me is you get strong, dominant, autocratic leaders, and the risk is that then everybody in the group stops being who they really are because they're afraid. Can't think of anyone leading a country at the moment like that, where everybody becomes. Who am I thinking?
Yeah, that's the point. The problem is to be.
Well, there are many, actually.
The problem is who is going to lead these people, who is going to lead the
But he also believes, of course, that every one of his ideas is perfect and it's the best and it's the only right idea, and therefore everyone's job is to be a sycophantic toady and just go, yes, sir, I'll go away and do it right away because you say so. But now whole countries are supposed to do that as well. The latest one is ASEAN is sucking up to him and inviting him to Malaysia to oversee a conference that will claim that he saw.
Thank you for your time. I think. Bye.
Hello.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining me today. So let me check the recording.
We lost some people.
Yeah, somebody. Yeah, it's still being recorded. Great. So I'm